So hello everyone, and thank you for joining Mastering Revit Sheet and View Management with IdeateApps. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software, Graytech. So real quickly, I'm located up in Boston. You can always feel free to contact me. My email address is richard.taylor@graytech.com. My LinkedIn information is there and my X/Twitter handle. So my background is architecture. I was fortunate enough to be one of the original employees at Revit Technology quite a few years ago, then worked at Autodesk for a number of years, and now have been working at Ideate Software. And for those of you that may not know, Ideate Software was acquired by the Graytech Group about 3 months ago. So we're just so thrilled and excited about the additional resources and additional exposure all around the globe. So speaking of additional exposure, before we begin our presentation, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you are an Ideate software user or customer, please go to our website and make sure that you have the latest and greatest software. So in June, about a month ago, we released and updated all of our software to work on Revit 2022 through 2025. And it's really important because, of course, we're aligned with Revit 2025, but we also made those additional updates on earlier versions of Revit. So even if you're using 22, 23, or 24, you'll want to make sure that you have the latest and greatest. And then you'll see down there at the bottom, Ideate Automation actually supports Revit 2020 through 2025. So again, just be sure to review the website and make sure that you have the latest software, because some of the features I'm going to be talking about today were introduced in that June release. And I know this is a lot of words, but the main thing to remember here is that you can go to our help for any of our Ideate software solutions. And the first items are usually getting started as well as what's new. So basically all of these are the what's new topics that we've updated for IdeateApps, Explore, BIMlink, Automation. And then primarily for Ideate StyleManager and Ideate Sticky, it was really aligning with Revit 2025 with some probably minor bug fixes and enhancements. But certainly for IdeateApps, which I'm going to be talking about today, we've made significant enhancements and improvements with that June 2024 release. So IdeateApps, if you're an existing customer or if you're new to Ideate software, I just kind of want to give you a high-level overview of IdeateApps. It is one product from Ideate software, but it actually consists of 10 productivity tools for all Revit users. So the ability to renumber elements easily with our Ideate ReNumber, understanding the implications of a delete with our Ideate Smart Delete, understanding why something doesn't display in a particular view with Ideate X-Ray. And then you can check spelling with our Ideate Spell Check, and a lot of great new features for Ideate Annotate, allowing you to review 2D annotations, intelligent tagging, being able to align text notes and tags very easily. So all that's with IdeateApps. But today we're going to be focusing on the sheet and view tools of Ideate software. So that is Ideate SheetManager, Ideate Align, and Ideate Clone, and Ideate View Creator. So being able to place views on sheets very efficiently, aligning views, viewports across different sheets, copying sheets, and maintaining the alignment of viewports across those sheets, and a lot of enhancements to our Ideate View Creator, allowing you to bulk create many different types of views. So the products are the tools within IdeateApps. Ideate SheetManager, I like to explain this as sort of the central traffic cop, if you will, or the central location where you're going to be accessing some of the other tools. The tools are available on the Ideate software ribbon, but they're also all available from SheetManager. So you'll see from SheetManager, I can access Ideate Clone, Ideate Align, Ideate View Creator. And that's going to be what I'm going to be doing primarily through the presentation here. And then Ideate Align allows you to align viewports across multiple sheets, keeping them aligned based on either the model coordinates, which is typically what you want to do in a plan view, or aligning them based on the upper left crop region if they're non-plan views, sections, elevations, schedules. And then Ideate Clone, allowing you to copy or duplicate a sheet and maintain viewports in the sense of you might want to swap one plan for another plan, maintain the position. Or you might want to duplicate that plan, duplicate it with detailing as an example. So there's a number of options that you can do when you're cloning or duplicating a sheet. And then our Ideate View Creator allows you many different methods to create views. Create views based on dependency, maybe create views based on room views, or create views from scratch. And all of these are rule-based, and these rules are very customizable. So the easiest thing is, let's take a look. And what I'm going to be doing is basically, I like to say sort of a workflow, like how I would use the tools, where I'm kind of maybe jumping around from the different tools because it's more sort of workflow based. So let's go over here to Revit. And in this case, I'm going to be using the Snowden data set. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with this data set, it's a commercial building, but it's also got some residences on the second and third floors. It was a data set that was introduced by Autodesk a couple of years ago, and it's like a nice size for doing these types of presentations. So over here in the project browser, you'll notice I have some floor plans. And on this level 1, as I select on that, you'll notice that there's level 1, and I've already done some, created some dependencies here, dependent views, where I've created a left building and a right building zone. And what I've done is assigned a scope box that assigns the crop region, right, to that. And I've also said, like, don't display the crop region. So I've set some properties, right, for these dependent views. Now that I have that and I've done the settings, right, I want to be able to apply that to all the other levels, let's say. And that's a great use of Ideate View Creator. So I'm going to come over here to Ideate Software, right? And all of my Ideate software tools are available on the Ideate software ribbon. We're going to select on Ideate View Creator. And we're going to go through multiple methods here. But the first method I'm going to show you is apply dependence. So I select on apply dependence, select next, and I have those two, that's really my only two dependent views that I have there. I'm going to select next. And then I want to apply those to level 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's do the roof level as well. And say next. And so it builds a preview of what those views are going to be. Now, it actually hasn't created them yet because it allows me to modify the name. So for instance, if I, instead of the word zone, I want the word area, I can replace that, and you see that's all updated. And we have, L2, L3, L4, and so forth, all based on this rule that I have for dependencies. So I'm going to go ahead and say create the 10 views. I'm not going to create the sheets at this moment because I'm going to do that sort of more manually or more contextually. But I'm just going to say done. And you'll notice over in the project browser that now those views have been created. So now we have a left building area and a right building area. And if I open up that left building area and go to the properties, you'll notice that it actually has the left half of building. There was actually, we're going to organize this in the project browser based on a product called SheetManager. And so that's all been done. So these settings that I used from that original view are all maintained. And it knows, like I said, the left half or the right half of the building. So I'm going to close some of these now. And we're going to go back to our SheetManager. And this is what I was saying, that kind of that centralized traffic cop, if you will, of all the views on the left-hand side and all the sheets on the right-hand side. And the views are organized by browser. In this case, I have this, ISW is short for Ideate Software. I have it organized by a parameter that shared parameter that I created for products, right? And so that what that does is over here, it also allows me to organize this based on products. I've got View Creator here, and it's just nice, especially when I'm doing presentations. I kind of know that that's right at the bottom here, and I know that these views, right, are these sheets and views are accessible to me. So with that in mind, right from the Sheet Manager, I can decide that I want to create a new sheet. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create one with a logo here for IdeateApps. And you see that's in the background. And here's the information over here in the project or I should say the properties palette. And I'm going to say that I want this sheet number to be, let's say, A155. And we want this to be, let's say, 3rd floor left building area is the name. And I want the product, again, to be organized here by View Creator. And if I apply that, see, that's the nice, because it just pops right down into my, now I've got A150, the 1st floor left building zone, and I've got A155. Oh, actually, you know what? Instead of the 3rd, it really should be the 2nd. So you know what? I can show you another feature here. I could do it through the properties palette, but I could also come over here and just say rename, right? And so I can come over here and just say, oh, I really wanted that to be the 2nd floor left building area instead. Okay, now that I have that, right, here's my nice sheet. It has all the properties, in the title block and everything that I want, but it doesn't have any viewports on it. So the way that I can populate those viewports is also to use SheetManager. So I'm going to come over here to the floor plans that I've organized around SheetManager, and I've got that left building area, right, L2, and I'm going to click and assign it to A155. All right, and so now you can see that that viewport is assigned to the left building area. I might want to actually do some other views here. So maybe if I come over to some schedules, I've got a lighting schedule from Philips that I'm going to also assign. And then I realized that, by double clicking, I could open up the sheet and the viewport. And so if I wanted to review that information, I can say, you know what, I like that elevation right there, but I don't want that to be on A150 anymore. I want that elevation to be on A155. So I'm going to drag that from one sheet to another. And you'll notice that as soon as that's completed, that was removed from A150 because you can only have, one view on a sheet unless it's a schedule or legend view. So now I've got those viewports. Now you might ask to yourself, well, how did it know where to place those? Well, it did basically the centroid of the view for the plan, but now I want to move those to where I really want to organize those items. And so now I'm going to have this schedule here. And then I realized that, oh, you know what? That A150 had a nice legend on it that I should have included on this sheet as well. So I can copy and paste legends and schedules, and then I can paste it over here. And as I mentioned, legends and schedules can appear on multiple sheets. So it's a way for me to just copy and maintain the location of that. Okay, so now we're starting to lay out our sort of drawing set. We have our A155 2nd floor left building area. I've got an elevation, I've got a schedule, a legend, the plan view. Now I'd like to start replicating this for the 3rd, 4th, 5th floor. And an easy way to do that is to use our Ideate clone. So this tool here, Ideate clone, allows me to duplicate a sheet. So in this case, the next sheet number is going to be A156, but maybe I want it to be 160 as an example. And then I'm just going to change this to, instead of 2nd floor, this is 3rd floor, left building area. And here's where it gives me the opportunity to do several things. I can either copy, right, duplicate with detailing and actually create a new view, or I could swap one viewport to another. So I used View Creator earlier to already create the views, right? So that was one of the workflows. So I said, well, I've already created the views that I'm going to use. So I've got this L2. I'm going to swap it with L3 left building area. So there it is right there. And then the south elevation, I'm going to swap it with the north elevation. And then legends and dimensions, again, legends, I'm just going to say current, meaning that, yeah, duplicate it on this sheet too and show it to me. The same thing can happen to that Phillips Guardco, but I actually have a different one that I'm going to swap it with. So we're going to say that we want it to be a Hadco. So basically, I've specified like a new sheet number, a new name. I'm basically saying swap these viewports, but notice this little tick mark, align plan views using model coordinates. So it's going to keep those plan views aligned, again, based on their model coordinates. So I'm going to say clone. And so at this point, it's creating a brand new sheet, which is sheet A160, but it has, you know, the same sort of properties that I had for the sheet before that, which was A155. And basically now it's creating the viewports, or swapping the viewports, I should say, in this situation. So that's going to be done here in a second. You can see that it's actually processing in the background. When it's done, this will be green where you could clone again. So I'm going to say done. And we're going to look at both of these, so the second floor and the third floor. So as I move this down, here was our original one, right? The A155 second floor. Here is our new one. And as I kind of switch back and forth, you can see that the plans are perfectly aligned. The elevations are aligned based on their upper left crop region. Now, if we go back to the this first floor, or I'm sorry, the second floor, which is the first sheet, I guess, and maybe I want to make some changes. So I decide that, you know, the plan should be moved down a little bit. This elevation should be moved over. And you know what? For some reason, I have this new standard where I'm going to have the title be at the top. So I'm going to bring the title to the top of both the elevation and the plan. Well, obviously, when I do that, right, it's no longer aligned. These are, you know, not representing the same locations. So here's where we can use our Ideate Align. So I'm going to select Align. Oops, that's clone. Select Align. And then I can specify that, okay, here is my kind of alignment view, which was that, you know, the sheet A155. I would like to match the view title position. Previously, if you're familiar with IdeateApps, we were only allowing the plan. Now we actually allow to match the title position of all views, which is really a nice enhancement. That was one of the enhancements we did for 2024. So now I'm going to select and say, well, I want to go over here to this third floor and align the floor plan. So we're going to say align. And then once we do that, we'll switch to the south elevation. You know, it highlights the elevation, and we're going to do the same thing for the elevation and align it. And, you know, if you've got 10 sheets, you could align this across, you know, I'm doing it sort of one by one, but you could do it all at once as well. Now, if I go back here, you'll notice here's the second floor and here's the third floor. Now, so those are perfectly aligned back again. And the titles, or title, notice that are now on the top. It was aligned with the location that I moved it. So I'm going to go ahead and fit that and also fit that. And I saw there was a couple questions. I think Naveen has answered those. So let me see. Okay, I think that's good. All right. Also, I wanted to make a comment that all of the tools, such as the SheetManager, the Align, the Clone, you know, you can have that open and be working in Revit. As you notice, you know, I don't have to close this. I could have it on a second screen over to the right, or, you know, sometimes I move it down just out of the way, which is really nice that you can still continue to work with all the Revit commands. All right, now you will notice that I have a sheet here called Studio Unit 203. I'm going to open up that view. And so this has been laid out on a sheet, and we've got a schedule that's been filtered by Studio Unit 203, right? So these are all of the elements in that Studio Unit. We have an enlarged floor plan, an enlarged reflected ceiling plan, and we have 4 elevations and a little legend. So what I'd like to do is clone this sheet, but at the same time, I don't have any new views, meaning if I want to have a new room, like different studio units, I have not yet created any of these elevation views. I haven't created the plan or the reflected ceiling plan or the 3D or the schedule yet. So a great way to be able to do that is to go back to our view creator, and I want to select on something called room views. So I'm going to select next, and I'm going to search for studio. So now these are ones that have not actually been, you notice it says hide rooms with elevations. So I'm not getting the 200 because we've already created those elevations. I'm just getting the ones that have not had any interior elevations created. So I'm going to do just 304 and 404, just two of them. Select next, right? Here's where it says, well, do you want to clone a sheet or do you want to create them from scratch? And if I go back to the room rule, you can see that this is how I did it initially. I basically said all, and I said, oh, I want to create an interior elevation and large floor plan, 3D views. Here's the title block I'm using. And based on the view type would control which view template it's using. And then the view template is, of course, controlling the scale, the poche. So that's how I was able to get exactly what I wanted. So I already did that once. So now I'm going to say I want to go clone sheet instead. If there's any 2D information on the sheet, which I really don't have, but I can copy, if there are any line work or annotations or dimensions on that sheet as well. Select next. Now, here's where the call out, because we're creating a new floor plan, right? Where's the call out going to be? And if you remember, I actually created dependent views, left and right. So same thing with L4, I did a left and right, but I'm going to do it on the parent view. So it gives you the option of where do you want to create that call out. So we'll select next. And again, it's going to give me a preview. So it's creating or sort of pre-selecting or pre-creating those views. That sounds, it's a preview. Pre-creating sounds like a weird nomenclature, but it's basically giving me a preview, right? Again, where I can change that, maybe the word studio and replace it with condo or something. All right, so now it's got condo unit. All right, now I'm going to create those 14 views. And then it's going to, once it's creating the view, so in this case, it's doing the elevation view, it's doing the enlarged floor plan, the enlarged reflected ceiling. It gives me the option to create the sheet, which I'm going to say, yes, I would. So it's actually create those sheets. I can rename them. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go back and rename them in a bit. So I'll just say done. So there was, if I come back to the SheetManager, right, we did the third floor, we did second floor, we have fourth floor. I'm going to put all of them there together. So here was our original one, right, which again was filtered by Studio Unit 203. This is the one we just created, all new, plan views, elevations, but again, it was filtered by 304. This one is going to be filtered by 404. So really nice way, like if you've got rooms or laboratory rooms, classrooms. I was doing a presentation yesterday to a firm that does a lot of educational facilities. So they have tons of different classroom situations. This is a great way to be able to create those interior elevations, the enlarged floor plan, reflected ceiling plan, then even a little 3D view. And again, the scale, the poche, all of this is being controlled by the view type and the view template that I've set up. So Naveen, I'm going to put you on the spot and just see, before I move on, are there any particular questions that I should answer?
I think I've answered all of them. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's the best thing, that I put you on the spot and you have all the answers. Perfect.
Oh.
Okay. So now this is I'm going to close a couple of these views here, or I should say sheets. Come back over here. And now we're going to go back to our SheetManager. And you saw that I actually created all these like 150, 155, 160, then it did 110. I told it to start at 610, 611, 613. I may want to rename all of these sheets. So I'm going to select them, right? And I'm going to go and then right click and say that I want to rename the sheet. And let's see, whoops, I don't want to do that. Sorry about that. Let's do, whoops, the sheet. There we go. And let's do that. There we go. Okay, now here I can rename either the sheet, the sheet name by finding and replacing as I did before, or the sheet number. A new feature that I wanted to show you is that now we have this is A150. It's going to increment it to A151. But if I want to do this ReNumber down, it will then do 151, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it renumbers them all in sequence. And so if you wanted to insert, like, go back and now create a sheet A150, you could do that quite easily. So I'm just going to say, okay. And then that's going to then renumber all those sheets in sequence. So that's a little feature that we added called the ReNumber down, which is under the renaming the sheets. Okay, now let's go. And I want to do another method that's also new under Ideate View Creator. Right? A lot of these, the room views are, kind of created from scratch. You saw that the apply dependence was basically I'm starting with a couple of views and then I'm applying those to other parent views. Duplicating views makes sense, right? I'm duplicating the information. But people asked us, well, what if I don't have any existing views to start out with? I want to start from scratch. So this is a new method that we introduced in our latest release called Create from Scratch. So I'm going to select that. And so it says, well, what type of view do you want to create? You have the option to create a new view by family and type or by view template. I'm going to use view template. I'm going to select a view template to apply to that new view that I'm creating. So since it's a demo plan, I'm going to select the demo plan floor plan template and say next. And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to say L2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's just say those 4. And select next. And here it gives me the option, do you want to apply a scope box? Well, remember in our first view or our first workflow, I already had created a scope box for the left half of the building and the right half of the building. So let's do the right half of the building for this one. You can also make them dependent if you like, but in this case, I'm not going to. I'm just going to have it be a parent view. Select next. And again, it's going to give me the preview of those items. So it will give me the preview of the views that it's creating. So if I wanted to change the name or whatever, or append something, what's nice is I might actually say, even though it says demo plan, I could actually say, dash demo and append, to the back of that name. So I could add prefix or suffix, set very easily. So I'm going to create those 4 views. And at the same time that I created the views, I'm also going to create the sheet that those views are going to be placed on. So this is, we've now had this create sheets that's basically available now for every view creator option. So I'm going to select create sheets. I'm going to give it a title block, and that title block here is going to be the one for IdeateApps, and that's going to be, I'm going to come back to that. So remember that I'm selecting a special title block for IdeateApps. And I'm going to start the number as, I don't know, A700 or something. And I can always go back and rename that. You can also clone an existing sheet, but this time I'm creating a new title block starting at A700 where I want those views to be placed on. So now I'm going to select create. And so it's going to create 4 sheets, each one having the plan view that I want. So like in this case, A700, 701, 702, 703. Say okay. And now if I come back to the SheetManager, and one of the things that's interesting is you'll notice that they're not assigned a product yet. I could go back and assign those if I want, like I did before, but I just wanted to show you a couple of these different ones, right? So now we've got, here's L2, here's L3, here's L4. And you might ask, well, Richard, how did it know where to place those plans? Like, and why was it kind of pushed over on the sheet to the left? And what's this white space here? Well, there's an answer to that. So if I go to the settings here, I basically can specify the title block and the margins for each of the title blocks that I have in the project. So that's why I said pay close attention. I selected the IAP, the IdeateApps title block, which I gave, from the right, I gave it a margin of 10 inches. So not only does it have the margin of the title block itself, but then it moves over. So, by default, the right margin is like 5¼ So basically on real size, this title block is about 5¼ inches from a 30 by 40 sheet, I believe it is. Or 30 by 42. So anyway, you can control where these views get placed on the new sheets that you're creating. Another thing is you can control when a viewport gets placed on a sheet. You can control the default viewport. And that is something that you really can't do within Revit. In Revit, it's always, I think, picking the last viewport that you create. So in this case, I had a demo plan, right? In the demo plan, I said whenever a demo plan is placed on a sheet, make sure the default viewport is title and scale. So now, when I remove this, or I should say close that, notice that this was now the title and scale. It has the 3/16 inch. So there was something recently in a Revit or in an Autodesk Revit forum where someone was asking for that specific feature. Basically, they were saying, well, why can't we actually assign a default viewport type when we're placing it on a sheet? And so I just wanted to show that that's available under the Ideate SheetManager. If you go to the little cog setting, you'll see that all of the default viewports can be set for those types. And then you can also set, like I said, the title block and the space that you're going to be using in that title block as well. Okay, now one of the things I didn't really talk about too much were the rules, right? So if you come over here to Ideate View Creator, and let's say that we want to duplicate views, all right, and we say next. We can basically duplicate to a different family. So I can say, well, I want to start with, let's say, floor plans, but I want to duplicate it to, a structural plan as an example. Or I could just say I want to duplicate with detailing. Like for instance, maybe I want to do, this floor plan, right? And now, actually, you know what? I'll come down here and I'm gonna untick that because it's a ReNumber. We'll select one of the L4 plans and say next. And so the rule, as you see here, is called duplicate. But if I select this little pencil, these are the properties that are getting assigned. And the way that the name, right, so it actually has the dash copy after it. But I mean, you can control this to say, so here's a preview. It's going to be L5, SD for schematic design copy. But you can decide that, you know what, I would like to apply a particular view template. So if I come over here and say, well, I want this to be the architectural plan, right? And you can apply multiple ones, meaning that if I apply an architectural plan, it's going to do that. Then it's going to do, let's say, the MEP plan. But in fact, when I go to the view, it won't have a view template assigned. So it's just like Revit. You can apply or you can assign. Now, when I do this, let's just say I'll do a different one, architectural presentation, or let's say schematic plan. What it's going to do is that when I create this or duplicate the view, you can go to the view properties and you will see that the view template now will be assigned as architectural schematic plan. So there's, I think most of us realize the difference between apply and assign. You can also then start to say, well, I want it to be an architectural discipline. Notice that some of these are grayed out because they're being set by that view template. So in fact, if I said over here, let's say none, notice that then I have other example. I've already kind of set that here. So none. Then I can go over here and specify different disciplines, right? Because that's not being controlled by the view template. This little prompt here is basically when someone's running the rule, they have the option of changing it. So like if I just say, save and close, notice now when the person runs the rule, they have this, oh, I can change it on the fly to structure or whatever, or, it says view template none assigned. So these rules are really powerful. And there's a lot of information on our website about controlling these rules. And you can see that, you can actually, specify the phase filter, title on sheet, and again, each time you have the ability to either choose it, like in this case, if I say untick that prompt, when the user runs the rule, they're not going to have an option. It will be the architectural discipline. Or if you want the users to have the option to change it, you can select this prompt for doing it. So it really depends on how you'd like to run that particular rule. And let's just say no, I don't want to change those. So because let's say like I said on that, so I want this to be the discipline structure, and now I'm doing this L4 copy, and I could be here str. Say, and create that one view, and then say done. So now that's going to have, like I said, it's going to be the structural discipline set within that view. And you'll notice I set the structural, or did I do the view template? Let's see. Nope, I said view template none. So if I had selected that structure, I could have selected here, actually don't know. Yeah, I do have a structural framing plan. So I said could apply that as the view template for this as well. So again, a lot of control. I just wanted to talk a little bit about those view rules, because the SheetManager, the Align, the Clone, primarily Ideate View Creator is using the rules, but the rules do affect the other tools as well. All right, so I'm going to pause again and go back to the questions, Naveen. We're about 40 minutes after the hour. So are there any questions you feel I should answer for the group?
Someone actually just asked that, can someone set the rules as a standard for the company and have the team members use them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So under View Creator, under the cog, right, you'll notice that the settings I was basically showing is like, here's the library path. So it says rules will import from this location if there are no existing rules in the project, because what it will do is it saves under the project parameter work set for that project. So if you wanted to be able to, like you said, manage like view rules, right? You can actually import and export those rules, as you see here. So here I can say that I want to save off that rule, right, as a V rule text file, or I can import rules. But really what I'd want to do is make sure that I come over here and set the settings so that the rules would be, let's say, in this case, they're coming from Ideate View or IdeateApps samples, View Creator basic rules, but you'd want to set that for your particular company. And then if you had modified those rules, then everyone would have access to be able to import or load those rules from that location. And by the way, that's sort of a typical, I'll go a little bit off script here in the sense of if you're familiar with any of our other tools, they all work very similar. There's a little cog here, and you can see that it says library path. So this is where the library for like Ideate BIM link, everything's set for the samples folder, but you could choose a network folder that you'd like to load, for instance, BIM link definitions as well as specific rules. And then, there are rules for Ideate ReNumber as well. There are filter rules for Ideate Explorer. And then, like as you saw here, under View Creator, there's both the rules for the views and then the rules specifically for rooms as well, because those kind of combine the different rules together into a room rule. So yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Am I muted? Someone says, or Jose says he can't hear me.
I can hear you okay.
Okay, good. Always makes me concerned when I see that. All right. So, the best thing is to be able to go to our website. And in fact, I have that available here. And you can download if you're an existing customer, you can download, you'll see here, there's actually several selections for whether you're a subscriber download, so that's an existing Ideate software customer, or you have a trial download. And that's, if you're a new customer, you can select this trial download to install. So like I said, make sure that you have the latest and greatest updates available. And with that, if there are no further questions, Naveen, let me see. There actually one just came in. Does the ability to have a company standard for rules work with Ideate automation as well? Yes, I guess the things with Ideate automation, instead of rules, there are more scripts that you would set the location for the script, if I'm understanding the question correctly. So basically with Ideate automation, you're setting where the script location would be. That could be a network location. So before the webinar ends, or I should say, or when the webinar ends, there's going to be a very short survey presented to you. And we really would appreciate you filling out that survey. There's only 4 questions. It really helps us focus these webinars so that we're delivering the right information for your needs. Also, I asked a question in that survey about like what of the tools really resonates with you. You can always add some information if you want to see like feature updates or additional sort of features or workflows that are supported with the Sheet and View tools. So again, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention today. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you do explore, if you're not already an Ideate software customer, you explore the Sheet and View tools in IdeateApps. If you are an existing IdeateApps customer, I hope that this has given you some additional information. And again, be sure to download the latest updates for all these new features that I talked about. So thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.